activity-based costing. It's one of those things that's kind of boring and hard to read about, but it really isn't that complicated. It's just a better way of allocating overhead to jobs. If we're a manufacturer, we're going to take materials, labor, and overhead, take those costs and move them into work in process, work on them, finish them, and then they're going to sit in our finished goods warehouse where they will accumulate no more costs, and then we'll sell our thing that we made, and we'll sell it for more than what it costs us to make it. It's easy to track materials because those are big pieces that are easily traceable to our final product. It's easy to track wages because we can look at our time cards of our workers and figure out what job they worked on. The challenge is this guess: how much overhead, how much indirect costs get applied to each job? And the simplest way to do it is to just have one account called manufacturing overhead and have one rule, one manufacturing overhead application rate, to move costs from our overhead account into work in process. A better way to do it would probably be to break this overhead down into smaller accounts and have separate rules for each of those accounts. All right, let's do a problem together. Ferris & Company is an architectural firm that specializes in home remodeling. And the first thing we notice is that since they're an architectural firm, they don't sell things. We're going to use one overhead application rate, and then we're going to use multiple ones, that's activity-based costing, to apply overhead, but we're not going to sell things. We're just going to have wages payable and overhead on these jobs. And once we calculate how many dollars of wages and how many dollars of overhead get applied to a job, the price to the client is 129% of that cost. So let's do things the easy way first. One account called manufacturing overhead, one manufacturing overhead application rate. If we're just using one rule for one account called overhead, we'll look at the total operating overhead, $231,500. That's the estimated number for the year. And we'll look at our driver, which in this case is 10,000 professional hours. So at the beginning of the year, we'll take the total estimated overhead of $231,500. We'll divide it by the driver of 10,000 professional hours, and we'll get an overhead application rate of $23.15. It tells us that this particular job that we're looking at had 27 professional hours. 27 times $23.15 means that $625.05 of overhead gets applied to this job. Since the problem tells us that there were 27 professional hours spent on this job, and we applied $625.05 worth of overhead, our total cost of the job is $2,380.05. Multiply that times 1.29, in other words 129%, and what we bill our client is for $3,070.26. That's just basic overhead application. Let's instead use activity-based costing to more accurately guess how much overhead should get applied to this job. If we're using activity-based costing, we'll go back and look at the components of our overhead and break it down into logical subsets. In this case, the company thinks that there's transportation to clients, blueprint copying, and office support that make good sense as far as subsets of our overhead account. And they think a good driver for the transportation is the round-trip mileage to the clients. The blueprint copying, the good driver is the number of copies, and office support is the secretarial time. It all makes good logical sense. And what we'll do is we'll come up with a rule for each of these three pools of overhead. At the beginning of the year, the company sits down and thinks our total transportation costs for the year are going to be $10,500. Our total driver is 15,000 miles. Ignore the fact that they broke it down by private versus corporate clients. 10,500 divided by a total of 15,000 miles means that our rule is going to be 70 cents per mile. For blueprints, 35,000 divided by 1,000 copies, because the number of copies is our driver, which means our application rate is $35 per copy. And finally, for office support, secretarial time is total of 5,000 hours, and the total office support cost for the year is estimated to be $186,000. So $186,000 divided by 5,000 hours means that our rule for office support is $37.20 per hour. All right, so if our rule for the transportation overhead is that it gets applied at 70 cents per mile, and this problem tells us that on Lee's remodeling job, we incurred 124 miles of transportation costs. 70 cents times 124 is $86.80. Blueprints are 35 bucks a copy. It tells us in this problem that we had to make 4 copies of the blueprints. 4 times $35 is $140 worth of overhead. And our rule for secretarial office support is to take $37.20 of overhead out of the overhead account and move it into work in process for every hour of secretarial time. Tells us they spent 16 hours on this. 16 times $37.20 is $595.20. Our total overhead applied to this Lee remodeling job is $822. You add that $822 to the $1,755 of wages, and you get a total cost of the job of $2,577. Multiply that times 1.29, and we bill this client $3,324.33. The whole idea behind activity-based costing is to do a better job of making a guess of how much overhead gets applied to each job or each process. That's all there is to it.